If you're over 60 and you've ever climbed into bed feeling completely fine, only to wake up at 3 a.m. with your heart pounding for no clear reason, stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to walk you through could explain exactly why. And it has almost nothing to do with stress or what you ate for dinner. It has to do with something happening inside your cardiovascular system in the hours before and after you fall asleep. Something almost nobody explains clearly. Here's the plain truth. We talk a lot about the morning as a dangerous window for the heart, and it is. But researchers have also found a second, quieter window. The hours between when you wind down for bed and when you actually fall into deep sleep. During that stretch, your blood pressure is supposed to drop gradually, a pattern doctors call nocturnal dipping. For most people, that dip happens smoothly and protects the heart overnight. But certain ordinary evening habits can interfere with that dip, flattening it, delaying it, or in some cases reversing it entirely. And when that dip doesn't happen the way it's supposed to, the research links it to measurably higher cardiovascular risk over time. I'm Your Name, and for years I've been digging into the research on heart health for people over 60 and turning it into plain, practical guidance, no jargon, no scare tactics, just what the evidence actually says and what you can do about it tonight. If you caught my earlier video on the morning blood pressure surge, this one picks up right where that left off. Except now we're looking at the other end of the day, the hours everyone assumes don't matter nearly as much. Stay with me through all four of these, because the third one is the one almost nobody connects to their heart at all. And the fourth is the habit I see people skip most often, even though it may take the least effort of anything on this list. Quick note before we get into it. If you find this useful, go ahead and subscribe. This channel exists specifically for this kind of calm, evidence-based guidance for people who want to take their health seriously without living in fear of it. Now, let's get into it. Before we look at the four habits, you need one concept, because without it, the rest of this won't fully click. I call it the evening dip. Here's what's supposed to happen in your body in the hours before sleep and through the night. First, your blood pressure is meant to fall gradually as evening goes on, typically by around 10 to 20% compared to your daytime average, reaching its lowest point during deep sleep. This isn't incidental. It's your cardiovascular system getting a genuine rest period, the same way a muscle needs recovery time after being used all day. Second, your body is also shifting its hormonal rhythm in the evening, cortisol winding down, melatonin rising, signaling to your whole system that it's safe to power down. Your heart rate and blood vessel tone follow that same signal when everything is working the way it should. Third, and this is the part almost nobody hears about, large studies using 24-hour blood pressure monitoring have identified people whose blood pressure fails to dip properly at night, sometimes called non-dippers. And this pattern, independent of daytime blood pressure numbers, has been associated with meaningfully higher rates of stroke, heart attack, and other cardiovascular events. Some of the research in this area has estimated roughly a doubling of cardiovascular risk in non-dippers compared to people with a normal nocturnal dip. That's not a small difference, and it's tied specifically to what happens overnight, not just to someone's blood pressure reading at the doctor's office during the day. Here's the cascade this creates. Your body is trying to wind down and drop into that protective overnight dip on its own, as a completely normal process. Then certain evening habits, a stimulant too late in the day, a heavy meal right before bed, screens blasting light into your eyes, skipping the wind down altogether, arrive right on top of that natural process and interfere with it. Do that enough nights in a row, and you're asking your cardiovascular system to skip the one recovery window it counts on every single day. Keep the evening dip in mind as we walk through these four habits, because every one of them connects back to whether that dip happens the way it's supposed to. Take a second and think about your evenings 10 or 15 years ago. Did you used to fall asleep within a few minutes of lying down? Did your blood pressure at the doctor's office ever come back a little high, even though you feel calm most of the time? A lot of people over 60 notice these small shifts and just chalk them up to getting older, without ever connecting them to anything specific happening at night. If that sounds familiar, this one's for you. I want to be clear before we go further. None of this means your evenings are working against you, or that something's wrong with you. The evening dip is a completely normal process that happens to nearly everyone, every night. What we're talking about today is simply removing unnecessary interference during the hours your body has set aside to do this important work on its own. If you'd like a simple, structured way to build habits like these into your routine, I've put together a free evening wind-down checklist linked in the description. Go grab it, and let's keep going. Picture your cardiovascular system in the evening like a busy street slowly closing down for the night. Traffic thins out gradually, signals change, everything eases into a quieter rhythm by a set time. A proper wind-down lets that happen smoothly. But if you keep the street lit up, keep traffic flowing, keep signals firing late into the night, that closing down process gets delayed or disrupted, and the street never really gets the rest period it needs before the next morning's rush starts again. Now let's look at exactly what disrupts that process, one habit at a time. I've ranked these from important to most critical, so you know where to focus first. And the fourth is the one I see skipped constantly, even though it's arguably the easiest fix on the whole list. Habit 1. Caffeine or alcohol too close to bedtime. Walter was 67 and had always had a coffee after dinner. Just one cup, nothing extreme, a habit he'd kept for decades without a second thought. Most people assume that if caffeine doesn't keep them lying awake, it isn't really affecting them. That's not the full picture. Caffeine has a half-life of roughly 5 to 6 hours in the body, which means a cup at 7 p.m. can still have meaningful levels circulating in your system at midnight, continuing to activate your sympathetic nervous system right as your body is trying to initiate that evening blood pressure dip. Alcohol works differently but ends up in a similar place. It can help you fall asleep faster initially, but research has consistently shown it disrupts deeper sleep stages later in the night and is associated with a blunted nocturnal blood pressure dip, particularly with regular use. The practical fix is straightforward. Aim to finish caffeine by early to mid-afternoon, and if you drink alcohol, try to have your last drink at least a few hours before bed rather than as a nightcap. This isn't about eliminating either one. It's about giving your body enough runway to wind down before you actually try to sleep. The mistake most people make, exactly like Walter, is judging a substance's effect purely by whether it keeps them awake, without realizing it can still be quietly working against that overnight dip, even while they're sound asleep. Habit 2. Eating a large or heavy meal right before bed. Margaret was 71, and after a long day, a late, generous dinner had become her way of relaxing, often within an hour of heading to bed. Most people think of a late meal purely in terms of digestion or weight, something separate from heart health entirely. That's a gap worth closing. Digesting a large meal increases blood flow demand to your gut and raises metabolic activity at a time your cardiovascular system is trying to power down, not ramp up. Research has also linked eating close to bedtime with a blunted nocturnal blood pressure dip and, in some studies, with a modestly higher risk of cardiovascular events independent of overall diet quality. The practical fix here is simple. Try to finish your last substantial meal at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. If you want something in the evening, keep it light, something your body can process quickly rather than a full plate that keeps your digestive system working while you're trying to fall asleep. The mistake most people make is treating dinner timing as purely a comfort or weight issue, without realizing it's directly connected to whether your blood pressure gets the overnight break it's counting on. Everything up to this point has mattered. But what comes next is where the real conversation starts. These are the two habits people tell me actually changed how they think about their evenings altogether. Habit 3. Bright screen light in the hour before bed. And this is the one that surprises almost everyone the first time they hear it explained clearly. Ruth was 68 and, like most of us, wound down each night scrolling on her phone or watching television until the moment she turned off the light. Most people assume screens only affect sleep because of the content, something exciting or stressful keeping the mind active. That's only part of it. The blue-enriched light from phones, tablets, and many televisions suppresses melatonin production, the hormone that signals your body it's time to begin winding down. And melatonin isn't just about sleep onset. It plays a supporting role in that evening cardiovascular wind down as well. Suppress it late into the evening, and you're effectively telling your body it's still daytime right as it's trying to shift into its lowest demand period. The practical fix isn't necessarily giving up screens entirely. Try dimming your screens and switching on warmer lighting around the house in the hour before bed. And if you can, step away from screens completely for the last 20 to 30 minutes before you turn in. Reading something calm under a warm lamp, or simply sitting quietly, sends a very different signal to your body than a bright, backlit screen does. If you use a screen for something essential in the evening, checking blood sugar readings, a medical app, or similar, that's not what this is about. This is specifically about the hour of scrolling or television many of us do purely out of habit, right up until lights out. The mistake most people make, exactly like Ruth, is treating screen time before bed as purely a sleep quality issue, without realizing it's also quietly working against the same overnight process that's supposed to be protecting their heart. Habit 4. Skipping a consistent wind-down routine. Here it is, the habit that ties everything together, and the one I see skipped more than any other on this list, even though it may be the single easiest thing here. Not having any consistent routine before bed at all. This one's different from the other three. It's not about avoiding an extra stressor. It's about actively giving your body a clear, repeated signal that it's time to shift gears. And here's why it gets overlooked so often. There's no single obvious mistake to point to, the way there is with caffeine or a screen. It's simply the absence of something, so it's easy to never think about it at all. Research on sleep and cardiovascular health consistently points to regularity. Going to bed around the same time and following a similar sequence of steps each night, as one of the more reliable predictors of both better sleep and healthier nocturnal blood pressure patterns. Your body responds well to predictability. A consistent routine essentially trains your cardiovascular system to expect the wind down and start easing into it on schedule, rather than being caught off guard by an inconsistent bedtime night to night. You don't need anything elaborate here. Even 3 or 4 simple steps, done in the same order most nights, dimming the lights, a few minutes of quiet reading, a short stretch, then lights out, is enough to give your body that consistent cue. What matters far more than the specific steps is doing something similar, at a similar time, most nights. The mistake most people make is assuming a routine needs to be long or complicated to count, when in reality even a simple 5-minute sequence, repeated consistently, does the real work. I want to leave you with 5 questions to bring to your next doctor's visit. First, based on my blood pressure history, would it be useful to check a reading in the evening as well as the morning, to see whether my numbers are dipping the way they should overnight? Second, given my current medications, is there anything about evening timing I should be handling differently? Third, have I mentioned my caffeine or alcohol habits in the context of my blood pressure specifically, rather than just in general. Fourth, is my current bedtime routine, or lack of one, worth discussing as part of my overall heart health? Fifth, are there warning signs at night specifically? Chest discomfort, unusual shortness of breath, waking suddenly with a racing heart, that I should treat as urgent rather than waiting to mention at my next visit? None of these ask your doctor to do anything dramatic. They simply connect the dots between your evening habits and the one overnight window most people never think to mention at all. Here's your challenge for the next 30 days. Build these 4 adjustments into your evenings, one at a time if that's easier. Finish caffeine by early afternoon and give alcohol a few hours of buffer before bed. Finish your last full meal 2 to 3 hours before sleep. Dim your screens or step away from them in the last 20 to 30 minutes before bed. And build one simple, consistent sequence of steps you repeat most nights, rather than winding down differently every time. Write down tonight how you typically feel falling asleep and how you feel first thing when you wake up. Revisit that same note in 30 days. You don't need a perfect evening. You need a consistent one. And the difference by the end of 30 days may genuinely surprise you. If you want something more concrete than how you feel, a simple home blood pressure cuff, used once in the evening and once in the morning a few times a week, gives you real numbers to bring to your doctor rather than a vague impression that something's improved. There's a real difference between healthcare that reacts to a cardiac event and healthcare that quietly lowers the odds one ever happens. The evening, specifically the hour or two before you fall asleep, is exactly where a piece of that difference plays out, whether anyone's paying attention to it or not. Nothing in this video is meant to replace medication, a proper diet, or exercise. Those remain the bigger levers, and nothing here changes that. But the evening window is one of the few places where a genuinely small adjustment intersects with a well-documented period of measurable cardiovascular activity. That combination, low effort, specific window, is worth taking seriously precisely because it costs you nothing to try starting tonight. You've probably never thought of your evening routine as a real piece of your heart health. That's not the full picture. You have every right to understand what your body is trying to do in those last hours before sleep, and every right to make it a little easier on itself. Start tonight with one small step. Maybe it's just putting the phone down 20 minutes earlier than usual. If this was useful, go ahead and subscribe. That's exactly what this channel is built for. Calm, honest, evidence-based guidance, without the extremes you see everywhere else online. And don't forget the free wind-down checklist linked below if you want a simple way to put all of this together. I'll see you in the next one.